And good evening. Welcome to Syncretism. Well, it's going to feel more like outside the box tonight right now. I've got a note earlier from Jordan. He has a dinner date from some friends he hasn't seen in a very long time, so he won't be able to make it tonight. Again, we just keep this night open for him as and when he can get here. So, and Tony is out and about right now, so he won't be joining me tonight. And Santo is in the middle of an interview, and he will join me as soon as he possibly can. I was talking with Johnny regarding his movie that they're going to be making in Ecuador. So I love that name. It's so cool. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to cover a couple of things tonight, I think, before Santo gets here and whoever else. But what I will do is I'm going to talk about a few things, and we'll just see where it goes from there until Santo shows up. First thing I do want to share is the phone number if you guys want to call in. You want to get me one-on-one, here I am. It's area code 661-467-2401, and tonight you'll have my undivided attention. You have that anyway every time you show up, so no worries there. So again, the phone number to call in if you wish is 661-467-2401. And of course, as always, you can go to, if you're listening to the show, of course, if you want to Skype in, all you have to do is hit the Skype button, jump through a couple of hoops, and I can get you on the board as quickly as possible. Well, I mentioned yesterday that Dean Clifford is indeed out, and an epic win. So waiting for some details from him. I did have a bit of a Skype chat with him earlier on today, and he's in good spirits and having some much needed rest. And I know how he feels, and it's such a relief to get out of the clutches of the useful idiots, as we like to refer to them, which range from useful idiot to psychopath, and those that are stuck in the war from heaven and earth. Now, I did have a bit of a thought today I wanted to share, and we do have a caller. I'll get to you right away. Just going to get this across. I thought this was a rather interesting, I would call it a minor epiphany. It's something that's always been floating around with me, but I got to thinking about this allegorical, metaphorical war in heaven, well, which is more accurately the war of heaven and earth, and the earth being the metaphor for the physical realm, and the heavens, of course, are spiritual, our mental universe, which the universe is mental. It is all mental, and once people start to figure that out, they'll start to take control and cause over this universe instead of being an effect to it. And what they have us doing on a grand scale is worshiping the materialism, worshiping the creation instead of the material aspect, the physical aspect of creation, versus the fact that we are the creators. Now, the epiphany is very, very simply this. It is actually the created trying to rule creation. And when you speak of created, it's always past tense. There's nothing now about it. So that's why I try to tell people as often as I can to get into the present moment. Anyway, we have a caller in from area code 774. I'm going to make your mic hot right now and get you in the call. So who we got?
Hey, Case Jeremiah, how you doing?
Good. I should have this number memorized by now, because I'm looking at it going, looks like Jeremiah's, but it's been a day. So how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, it's been a day, like you said. It's that I noticed that movie is coming out today, that really sinister looking one, the Exorcism one, and you can see like it was release date 1/3, 1/3, or rather 3/1. Yeah, the kind of mirror image.
Yeah, oh,
thing.
yeah.
So
yeah.
I think
1331. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just funny that they're trying to still kind of hold on to that fear angle. So it's just kind of funny seeing that now that I know what it is, and especially like the number 13. I believe that I was referenced that's a pretty powerful number for the powers that were, and they're just trying to give it that kind of strength and hold over the people. So it's just funny to see that. And it is Friday the 13th, ironically enough, as well. So there's another, addition for them to add that kind of power. But it's just funny at this point.
Yeah, it's one of the things I do like to bring across to, especially what kind of research I do. I'll look at everything and correlate it back to things. But for me, looking at things like movies, I see them as mass mind control. And when people are going in to just be entertained, what they're looking at is a creation that generates pictures and thoughts in people's minds. And all they're doing at that point, if they're just being entertained, is aiding and abetting that energy and helping them to create that paradigm. So one of the things, and it only takes one person to look at a movie and go, nah, to completely dispel it for all, because we are all one. This is one of the reasons why I spend so much time trying to empower the individual versus a collective sort of thing. Because truly the power lies within you, the one in all, the all in one. And once people realize the importance of themselves and what a critical role they play in creation, period, they'll start to understand what the 100th monkey is. You see, everyone is the 100th monkey, literally. It's like the story of the 100th monkey. The first monkey that decides to pick up a rock to break open a coconut or something or whatever. Excuse me, can't remember the specifics. I just know that it was something to do with using a tool to do something. Anyway, it took one to do that, right? It always takes the first one to do that, and then another one sees it and goes, that's kind of neat, and before you know it, the whole clan is doing it because it's an easier way to do something, and because you start getting a collective consciousness going within one small group, as the study unfolds, there was a neighboring island with the same types of monkeys that were on it that started doing it spontaneously, the whole clan. So this is why you deciding to be that monkey to use a particular tool to crack open a particular nut is absolutely critical, more critical than you realize. And this is why when you change you will change the universe around you. So, yeah, very, very important stuff, Jeremiah. So when you look at a movie, look at what they're trying to sell. You have the choice of being cause or effect. Are you buying it, effect, or are you going to try and sell something else, cause? And I'm always looking at it going, not buying it, and I see a much, much better picture. So, and we do have another caller in here, too, so I'm going to just bring everybody in and have some fun here until Santos shows. But, more thoughts on that, Jeremiah?
Well, no, absolutely. You pegged it. I mean, it's just every one of us contributing to that, and it's not about the collective. It's about targeting the one specific person, because that person who changes their world, it reflects in that, in their environment, and then those people will see that, and they'll be like, oh, well, look what you did. It's fantastic. You really changed, your entire perspective, and everything changed around you. And I've actually worked with my family in this aspect, which is fantastic. And, family is the most difficult, one to target. It's not necessarily a target that I wanted. I just really wanted to really teach from the example that I'm living. And my mother, she's turned it all around, and it's fantastic to see that. Like, she just realized one day, what am I creating? And what do I want to do about it? Do I want to continue to dwell in this moment here, or do I want to start looking toward a brighter future? So she did that, and things started to change around her, and she's starting to wake up to who she is. And my sister is now following the path, and soon my other sister, and then my brother. So once the whole family, sees, who they are, and we've all been, down that road, that contrast, that helps us to look for this kind of brighter future. So we all really did want to see it, and I was the catalyst that kind of moved my family in this direction. So we're all helping each other out, and so individually through our family, we're helping to wake up people. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like you've created some new tools, and we're able to open that's a lot faster, and obviously we're doing it, spending a whole lot less time in the process of it, and what do you have is people start seeing something that's actually better, and they adjust accordingly. So that's the change that we're talking about when you need to be the change you want to see. Literally, 100th monkey. So caller from, excuse me, area code 623, your mic is hot. So questions or comments, jump on in. Maybe they're muted. Who knows? But they've got their mic open. Area code 623. Well, there's only Jeremiah and you on the call, so if you are listening to the show on a phone, you're it. No worries. I'll leave it open if you're having issues unmuting. There you are.
Hi, I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm just trying to listen to the show because it's not coming through online. The show isn't starting, so I didn't really have a question. I'm just trying to listen.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, nice to hear your voice. Oh,
all right.
Just a little note, if you ever have an issue with the Blog Talk player, just open it up in your own player, because sometimes Blog Talk can be a pain.
Okay, well, thanks for the tip.
No problem, I do it all the time.
Okay, have a good night.
You too, I'll put you back on hold. No worries.
Okay.
See, we get all sorts of information, important things, and then we have solutions that we can hand out at the same time. Isn't that cool? What about? But yeah, getting back to the being the effect to others. That's cause, right? You're affecting others by being at cause, and you start to see things change around you. Go back to the first car that was built. You can talk about Henry Ford or Blériot or whatever. It doesn't matter. Simple fact is, there is one individual key idea that they brought to the table, and what do we have? Well, a really, really dirty planet. But other than that, it's you look at the benefit and the bad too, right? So that's how important you are. Imagine a world without Nikola Tesla. That's
wow, yeah.
That's a pretty messed up world to me,
I know it, and to find out now that like Tesla technology is being used in teleportation devices is just mind-blowing, and it's been like the last 40 years apparently that it's been just hidden from our guys, and it's just, I mean, I guess we're like time is definitely I'd say increasing. I'd say as far as what we're used to, like time is exponentially growing, and the aspect of teleportation is, I guess, it's on the horizon. It definitely is, and it's definitely going to be coming out, and that's going to really just help everything. People can go wherever they want, however they want to, but I know you have to be able to implement that kind of technology within certain realms to be able to access it. But from what I've researched, and I hate to get off topic here, but
hey, Jeremiah, there isn't a topic. Yep. Carry on.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I've been following Alfred Weber's interview with Lisa Harrison today, actually, and I'm blown away by this idea that we're within a matrix, and we can access this matrix, and we can move ourselves independently through our own thoughts. I'd really love to hear about, if you have any information as to how they use this technology, like how they use this kind of warped tunnel technology, because it's all mind, and we're all connected to that mind, we're all connected to that technology, and it's all just a matter of, I guess, acknowledging it and utilizing it to your own potential, to your own ability.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, sorry, you cut out there. I thought you stopped.
No, I did stop. I'm ready for you to...
Yeah. Well, you've heard Anger Jones say it many times. There's a war on for your mind. It's a war on for consciousness. and one side of the consciousness is trying to tell us that materialism and being physical is where it's at, and the other aspect, the spiritual side, saying, don't forget who your mother is. You know, and really this is the physical universe actually acts in defiance of creation itself. So you have to have the dichotomy. This is how dualities are built. And when you finally start to see a singularity of it, yeah, you can see the power of taking especially electronic stuff, because we are waves. It only stands to reason that if you can, artificially generate these waves through electricity, of course, it comes out of creation, magnetism. It only stands to reason that this is why they want the smart meters. This is why they have HARP. This is why they have all these different things that, tetra waves and all the rest of it, that are literally gnawing away at, the brain, the consciousness, our ability to take our consciousness and deliver it properly into this realm. And that's all it is. They're just trying to short out the means to which we can deliver it, because at the end of the day, you drop the meat stick, you're still you. You just return to the light. We're here having experience, and some people, as Bill Hicks put it so eloquently, just took it too seriously. And we do have another call that has called in from area code 609. Who we got?
Hey, what's up? It's Patrick.
Patrick, how you doing?
Good. Hey, I wanted to ask if, I don't know where exactly you might live, but I live here on the coast in New Jersey, and it's pretty dark. We don't have very much, light pollution. For the past few years, me and my wife will go outside for a smoke, and we look up at the sky, look at the stars and the moon and the planets and things like that, and every now and then we see these things that look sort of like a star, and they'll move for a little bit, and then they stop, then they'll move a little bit further, and then they stop. And at first I thought, oh, maybe it's just a satellite. So then I went on to the website. I forget which one we actually looked at, but it tells you, what time satellites are going to be passing over your region and stuff like that. And these things are not satellites. Do you think that they might be some sort of, maybe teleportation devices? I don't know.
Okay. Sorry, I always have to unmute when I'm listening. It could be all manner of things, Patrick. Honestly, it's there's nothing new under the sun, and two, I don't nothing surprises me at all. So I've seen a couple of UFOs in my time as well. So things that I can't explain, and you just look at them and see them for what they are. So the old adage of keep your eyes on the skies is a good one. So to be able to explain what you're seeing could be any manner of things. Could be Earth-built UFOs, or it could be extraterrestrial. Who knows? This is quite a game that we've got going here. So I just practice the game of the patient observer.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a pretty good hobby that we have now, to go out there, just to. But I'll let you guys go. I just wanted to call in and see if you had anything to say about that.
Well, I might have something to say, Patrick, unless you want to say something, Kate.
Well, I was going to say, there was a rumor that Brett Stillings might show up tonight, and he'd actually be the best one to talk to about that, and especially depending on your location. I'm in the same time zone as you. I'm about an hour from Toronto, north of you. So, yeah, the skies are, I honestly haven't seen anything weird lately. I know I've talked to a couple of people. There was, I think it was 2 years ago, a UFO came over one of the cities near me, and it made the newspaper, and they saw it. It literally flew right over their backyard, and they didn't know what the hell it was. So who knows? We don't know what technologies are out there.
Also, I've also seen aircraft that they look like airplanes, but they don't have the traditional flashing lights on them. We've also seen a lot of them flying around, which I thought was kind of peculiar because they were pretty low flying, and you would think anything flying low in the sky would have the beacons to let other people know that they're there, but we've seen a few of those too. So it's just, I don't know.
Well, again, that's one of the things that I have seen a bit more of lately. Knowing the sounds of jets, and I know when I hear something that's not of the commercial domestic nature, and there's been a bit of an uptick in that. But also the technologies that have been given to certain groups that have been developed into certain aviation devices. I won't call them airplanes. A true airplane needs air to fly, and I don't think most of these need anything other than anti-grav. Right, anti-grav is not really the correct word. It's just riding the gravity wave and understanding it. Brett did a beautiful explanation of that last week. As as far as take bees for example, they can't, based on their body weight and wing rate and wing size and all the rest of it. It's impossible for them to go vertical. And what they've mastered is being able to ride that gravity wave, which they just invert the wave a little bit, get above it. I think he said it was 1.06. You had to get above, and as soon as they get there, they effectively go weightless, and the wings are just used for directionals.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because now that I think about it, the low-flying ships that I've seen that don't have the beacons on them don't have any sound coming out of them, but they are shaped in a pointed manner like an airplane. So that's kind of, or like some sort of ship, some sort of traditional, pointed ship. So that's peculiar.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the advancements that they did with the stealth technologies, and even the Blackbird designs and what have you that came out so soon after World War II, when the big advances were in propeller-driven aircraft, and we moved into the jet age right after, or at the end of the war, and then shortly after that, and then they come out with these things in the 50s. It's mind-blowing, and it's also, we can go back to Eisenhower, I can't remember, I think it was 1952 or 54, something like that. Anyway, the meeting that they had with the aliens and getting some technology, and part of the deal was, experimentation on humans and what have you. But that's actually a very fascinating story to look into. So you might just Google the Eisenhower meets with aliens, and that'll bring up a myriad of articles and probably quite a few countless pages of information on that. We did have Laura Eisenhower on. We'll get her on again very soon, as well as Alfred Weber, talking about these things. And that kind of information you can get from, I think it's exopolitics.com. That's Alfred Weber's website. But again, Google is your friend. So it's one of the things that I try to convey to people all the time is, if you have a question, people say, well, what about this? And I say, well, Google it. Have a look and see what you find. Follow your heart, right? But things are not as they appear anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. This is the land of Oz.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the. I have Googled it, and moving stars, or little various things in search engines, and I came across some videos on YouTube where people had the infrared cameras, and they were you could see the dots moving in the infrared, and then you could see helicopters and airplanes and stars behind them. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there. That even that Grimsley guy, Ed Grimsley, he did a lot of work with the infrared, and the says that there's like a war going on out there in space, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I saw a lot of the videos that he was doing with that, and as a kid with binoculars, I did see some light dots that were that appeared to be satellites traveling across the sky. And then they would do stop, do a couple of circles, a couple of 90-degree turns, and what have you. And as a kid, I think I'm 12 years old, 13, something like that, and I remember it didn't faze me too much, but I knew it wasn't quite normal, because I was a stargazer from a very young age, and it's it definitely captured my attention. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I've seen. And the funny thing is, for years I would talk to my wife about this sort of thing, and of all sorts of things, that especially a lot of things that you cover on your program. She never really believed any of it and thought I was listening to too many radio shows, until she actually saw the stuff for herself. She was blown away. When I grabbed her one night and was like, "Look at this, what do you think that is?" And she was like, "Oh my," she was blown away, and now it's opened her mind to whole realm of possibilities, where she definitely, can think about things that seem absolutely out of this world a little bit easier. So it's I don't know, it's crazy.
Oh, absolutely. When people talk to me about, I've had a few people tell me that same sort of scenario today about their significant others or friends and family that don't believe them, and I automatically in my mind revert to the fight scene in They Live, where Roddy Piper spent 20 minutes hammering on his buddy as much as his buddy was hammering on him, and all it was over was to get him to put on a pair of glasses and just look. It wasn't like he had to do anything major. It's just all he had to do was look, and that's what you're going to be dealing with. And when people tell me that, I just said, well, welcome to the team. It's long drawn out, and what Jeremiah was sharing there with his own family is what you're going to start seeing more and more of with people awakening as a net result of, like you did, Patrick, said, well, come and have a look at this. And you tell me, because until you have the experience for yourself, until you live that moment, it's like this. Until you experience a time jump where something has literally changed, and the only explanation for it is altering something that you would have to go into the past to do it. And that's exactly what I experienced, and two others witnessed it, and it was quite something. It definitely gives you a shift in paradigm and a shift in reality in that, we got a bunch of entities here that, one, aren't playing fair, but they're breaking universal laws, so we are moving back into the original timeline as I see it. And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get into the whole March subject with Santo tonight. Because today, I don't know about any of you guys out there listening, but there definitely felt like a shift of something today. Something lifted, and this has probably been one of the clearest days that I've experienced in a very long time.
Hey, Kate, I wanted to ask you one more thing. Have you ever heard of anyone having any awakening experiences from high fever, from having a high fever?
Oh yeah, I mean when you're dealing with body trauma, absolutely you're going to experience things, because what's happening there, when you go into a fever, what your body's trying to do is raise the temperature to kill whatever biologic that's in there, and in that process, I mean you're going to get euphoric. You're dealing with an entirely different body temperature, and that it would really surprise me that people wouldn't have an experience from a high fever. They talk about having hallucinations and what have you. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think having throughout my whole life since childhood, every time I had a high fever, I had weird mystical feelings. It would happen throughout my life. Numerous times, at least once a year through my childhood, and as I got older, I got I got sick less and less. But back in 2008, I had a pretty bad fever, and it did something to me. It changed something. I had a communication with, I can't say it was a person, but it was definitely language, and I turned into a light being, and it was the most bizarre feeling I ever had, and it was, it blows me away. Some of the things that I guess they were like dreams, like that I was having, but then again, they weren't dreams, because they were just as real as I'm standing here on the phone right now.
Oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And this is the hardest part that most of us have when we're trying to convey experiences that we've had. I don't discount anything or anyone, because one, I've had my own experiences that, if someone had come up to me and told me that they had experienced what I had, I'd look at them like they had two heads, give my head a tilt and walk away. But, as we experience these things more and more, we start to come to terms with it. And that's why, especially with these shows, it's an open forum for anybody to bring their experiences to the table. And again, that's not necessary to say that I quote by, unquote, everything, but I will listen, because what some people or what anyone experiences is what they experience, and how can anyone discount something that they've went through? The only time I ever question things, especially in this day and age, is that a real experience that they've went through, or was it somehow a manifest experience that someone else has implanted? And the technologies are there to do it for those, and I will be very clear on this one, for those that are not awakened enough and have weak minds and are totally caught up in the physical meat-stick illusion. That's why you have to be very guarded in, being aware and alert, because a lot of the thoughts that we're experiencing every day are not yours. This is an all consciousness here, and what we have to do is learn to, siphon out all the extraneous chitter chatter. That's one of the reasons why I love being away from, quote, civilization, unquote, because I don't think there is any on this planet, but to get away from the technologies and everything else, where it's like going up north camping, and you've got nothing around you but an open sky, and there's no radio towers within miles of you, and it's the first real opportunity to clear off most of that electronic garbage. For me, I don't think there's anywhere on this planet that you can fully escape it, but there are certainly places that you can go to minimize it. Like, you're going to be much clearer thinking out in the middle of the wilderness than you are in the middle of a city, because you're not getting inundated with, one, other beings' thoughts at an intense level, and two, the electronic webs that get shot through us. Because a lot of people don't realize, they look at their TV and say they've got a 500-channel satellite, TV. Just because they're tuned into one channel doesn't mean to say the other 499 disappear. No, it's just the one they're tuned into. Those 499 channels are still going through them. All the bandwidth of the aviation radios, all the CB radios, all the ham radios, all the COP frequencies, all the military frequencies. We are living in a soup of electronic energy that does affect us. Cell phone towers, tetra waves, you name it. The list right now is almost endless, and we are completely inundated. And it's only a tribute to the consciousness of the all awakening here that we actually can still have conversations of this level, right?
Well, that's the thing. When I had that experience with the fever, it seemed like when the fever went down about a week later, and I came to, and was back on my feet again, that I was awake in a different world where the people were the same, the streets were the same, the landscape was the same, but there was these subtle differences, where, these things, things exist now that didn't exist then, or maybe I wasn't tuned into to see things that had exist. Like, I was living on a lower level, and after the experience, I was on a higher level. Like, I was more sensitive to everything, from what I care about to what I want to eat. I mean, before I had that experience, if I would have heard someone talking about half the things that that you talk about on your show, I would have been like, oh wow, like whatever. I would have thrown it off as entertainment. But then after having that experience, I was able to come to these self-evident realizations, like just things that just were so true. And my eyes, it was like I had a new set of eyes and a new set of ears, and I was living in a new world. But so many aspects were the same, but it was completely upside down, I mean, it's for the better, definitely. It's for the better. I hear people all the time say ignorance is bliss. Sometimes I feel that I would be better off if I would just go back to the state of mind I was in before that experience. But, I'm much more grateful now, being, like you said, freedom comes from within. You have to free your mind before you can actually be free, and I'm so much freer. I'm so much smarter, and, I have this urge to learn things, like that I'd never, ever would have had interest in before. So it was definitely a pretty powerful experience for me, and I'm really grateful that it happened. And like I said, through that experience, I found, the whole truth movement, I guess you could say, by Googling, using Google, like he says, I was trying to Google the symptoms of what happened to me, trying to figure out if it has ever happened to anyone else, and it brought me into internet radio, and from there that brought me into reading books, and that brought me back to internet radio and researching again, and trying to prove myself wrong constantly. Every time I had a realization, I was always trying to be a skeptic, and always trying to prove myself wrong every time I had a truth come over me, and it's just a beautiful thing, and I wish that it would.
Patrick, I got to tell you, that is the proverbial nail on the head. If you want to remove any bias from any of your research, this is for everyone listening. Go into it with the proper perspective. Go into it trying to prove yourself wrong. So don't go anywhere, Patrick, because we just got Santo Bonacci in, and you might want to say hi. Hey, Santo, how you doing?
Hey, Kate. Well, thanks. Just got off Skype with Johnny, so here I am.
Hello.
There you are. We have Patrick and Jeremiah jumped in. I just kind of opened the phone lines up to see where it went, and it's been pretty interesting. So you were in a meeting with Johnny, as far as I'd said to people, as far as your upcoming movie, Bonacci the Film. And by the way, while we're at it, everyone, you can go to www.bonaccithefilm.com, and anything you want to do in terms of helping make that possible for Santo. I know he appreciates it, and I know once that work is done, it'll be worth infinitely more than anything you could put into it. What do you say, Santo?
Yeah. We met. 4 of us met up. Some of the producers and the graphics guys. Very nice team. I met all the guys, Robert, Jose, and another guy, I forget his name, but we're just discussing how we go about the film and the graphics and things like that. But we had so many technical problems. Johnny told me to get ready by 9 a.m. and it wasn't even started till 10:30. That's why I'm so late. Otherwise, and I I think his Ecuador time is an hour skew if. But anyway, would have been a lot better if we had started at 9, and then I'll.
Oh, you were breaking up a little bit there. I'm not sure if that was on my end or yours, but yeah. Well, you got to sort it out. And what I'd said to people at the beginning of the show, when we do get you on, I really wanted to talk a bit about March, of course, because we just entered it here in the Eastern Time Zone. Midnight last night. But one of the things that I did notice upon awakening this morning, that there was a lot of garbage energy that had lifted off, and the days I've experienced in the last few months.
Yeah, quite possible. It could be a collective thing. It could be just an individual thing too. But you can check that by checking your chart. It's quite easy to do, but I think it is a collective thing, Kate. A lot of rubbish is lifting off. It really is. Strange things are happening, on the secular plane. A lot of these important people, like the Queen and the Pope, and they seem to be cancelling a lot of their public meetings lately, because they're sick or they're busy. Because they also have to adjust to this new energy that's coming through. They just can't continue doing wicked deeds, which they have been doing under the old rulership of Jupiter and Pisces. That's over. So they're finding that they're like fish out of water. Are they going to repent? Are they going to join the rest of humanity and say, hey, probably 2 billion people on the planet starving to death every day is probably not a good thing while we drink water out of our gold-plated taps. So why don't we just be, children of the light and share all the abundance that the universe has? Maybe these elite, creepy types might start thinking like that. They're going to have to. because that's the way that it has arrived. Either you conform or you piss off.
That's pretty much it. I'm on the same page, and it's not, there's no vengeance being sought here. This is the joy of this right now, and I agree with you that based on some of the feedback I got from people today, they definitely had noticed something had kind of lifted, and I mean, when we're dealing with the one consciousness, you can't help but, because you're part of it, to be at effect to it, and there's more people waking up every day, and they're tired of it. This game has gotten far more than boring, and I think we've all had enough, and that's what we're going to start seeing a whole lot more of, and it's just getting more and more exponential as we move through March. If you could share a few of the more important lineups that are happening this month, that would be greatly appreciated. And then I know Patrick and Jeremiah, if you guys want to ask questions, please feel free, guys.
Yeah, March is going to be action-packed. Let me pull up a few dates on my screen for March. All right, I'm going to do, say, the 5th, the 10th, the 15th, the 20th, the 25th, and the 30th, okay? But starting from early March, the real action starts on the 21st and the 22nd of March, really, I think. But it's already happening by the beautiful placement of the two destructive, revolutionary planets, Uranus and Pluto, being positioned on a perfect position for those two destroyers. One in Aries and one in Capricorn, the sheep and the goats. The axis of spirituality, religion, ecclesiastical concerns is the Aries, Libra axis, balance, harmony, and then the out of balance, Cancer and Capricorn, is the political and governmental axis. And so there you find Pluto. Now, Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008. And since 2008, we've just had so many major transformations in the secular world. And of course, the people who know best about Pluto in Capricorn destroying capitalism forever are the banksters. That's why in 2007 they decided that they would gut the system by stealing, $40-50 billion, and they're still not in jail. But they gutted the system because they knew Pluto was coming to town, to Capricorn, to finish their activities. They've had 248 years before Pluto's return since the Rothschilds began their fictional world when Pluto was in Capricorn last. That was around the time when all the revolutions, started in the late 1700s. And so now they're again in Capricorn. And why Capricorn? Well, because Capricorn is that it's all about solidity. It's the skeletal system, it's the bones, it's the structure, it's the infrastructure, it's the institutions, it's the solid stuff. That's what destroy from scratch, total renovation. And of course, squaring with Uranus in Aries is very powerful because Aries, we know, is the high brain, the cerebrum, or cerebram, as it should be, because brum is neuter, but ram, is feminine name for the brain, the cerebram. You see, in Latin, cerebrum is neutral because the wax produced in the cerebrum is neutral. It gets differentiated as it descends. The first differentiation occurs in the third ventricle. as it goes down in the pineal and the pituitary glands. And then all the other glands differentiate the fluid even further. So what originated neutral in the cerebrum gets differentiated. And this is probably, as George Carey puts it, one of the greatest problems for mankind, because that oil should be neutral. It shouldn't be polarized. And then the body is perfectly balanced. So Uranus in Aries, another revolutionary, independent, what other words can we pick up, can we use for Uranus? Well, Uranus is out of the box. You like that word, Kate?
Oh, way out of the box. Yes, it is.
Yeah, very individual. Look, put it this way. Uranus is my chart ruler by virtue of the fact that he's just a few degrees from my ascendant. And next to that is Pluto in the first house. So having Uranus and Pluto in the first house, I've seen their influence firsthand. Very non-conformist. Having Uranus so close to my ascendant, no one's going to stick me in a box. It's not going to happen. Not in this lifetime. Uranus is just so eccentric and revolutionary, independent, and so different from the other guys. He is the heavens. That's the name Uranos, what it means in Greek. It's the heavens. Once you have Uranus well aspected in your chart, you escape. You really escape the material planets, the physical, visible planets, Saturn, Jupiter, etc. So that is a special quality, and that is in our heads collectively. Everyone has Uranus in the head right now for the next 5 years, and both of those planets are squaring. They will be squaring off at each other, I think, 7 times in total. One of the biggest aspects between the two planets in history. Usually you get about 4 or 5 squares, and then they don't see each other for 40, 50 years. But these guys, Uranus and Pluto, 7 squares in this relationship that they'll be in for 4 or 5 years together, squaring. That's probably the most you can get. And this means, it really means that 7 times their action will have massive effect. Even when they're not squaring, they're still causing mayhem in the head, Uranus in the head, and Pluto in the structural part. They are still, because Aries and Capricorn are really the most pivotal signs in the zodiac. Legends, gospels, tragedies, operas, president's speeches, they all either begin in Aries or Capricorn. There's no other place to start. It's either Aries or Capricorn. You can start at Cancer and Libra too, but it makes much more sense to start with either the climbers, the sheep and the goats, or any of the cardinal points. But these two cardinal signs, which have most of the strength, they're very strong signs, a lot of angular momentum there, angular energy. These are very, very powerful. And together with all the other things that are going to be happening in March, there will be 5 planets in Aries at that time, in early March. I'm just going to check those and let you know what they are.
Yeah, no problem. I was going to say there was, well, you bring up so many different points, but yeah, when you talk about, especially when you say the number 7, they'll meet 7 times, and the fact that they're going to be squaring off so intensely. Was it 24th, 25th this month?
Yeah, no, 7 times. Starting, I think they had this square twice last year. They are squaring right now as we speak, and this particular square will last probably, like a month or something like that. I'll have to check, but the square will disappear, then it will come back with Pluto and Uranus. But 7 times between all the retrograding that they do, this is really, really significant. Now, on March the 5th, in fact, right now, I think there are 5 planets in Pisces: Neptune, Venus, Mercury, the Sun, and Mars. Now, Neptune's going to be left behind in Pisces, but the other fast planets that are following the Sun, there's Mars, Mercury, and Venus, they will join Uranus in Aries next month. In about, say, 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to be very, very powerful because Uranus is already there doing a lot of havoc. So basically what's going on is Uranus is really revolutionizing the way we think, whilst Pluto is destroying old draconian and ancient structures once and for all, really. It's a revolution that's going on in the head and in the secular world. Big revolution.
Well, I got to share with you one of the most intense revolutionaries I know just joined us, Tammy Pepperman. So I'm not sure if she's going to jump in the call or not, but I just wanted to. You said revolutionary, and I'm looking at her number and I'm looking at her name and going, yeah, because what Tammy's doing and Bo and that are working with her. My eyes are glued on the Tammy training room and Skype. It's just fascinating to see the as above, so below that Tammy gets so clearly. And I can see how everything relates from the heavens above to the earth below and how it all starts to interrelate. And of course, my path has always been to expose the mimicry of the legal fiction illusionary world and how, how they've given a feigned sense of power by mimicking universal law, cosmic laws so close that when beings unwittingly agree to it, they're actually going into agreement with a higher power that they're not aware of. So that's why consent is so absolutely critical in deciding who your master is, you or someone else. But I just wanted to let you know that Tammy's in the call and she's listening in. So. I've often hoped that both you guys could be in a call and see how it correlates astrotheologically with Tammy's very ethereal approach to the legal fiction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the things that are going on now, we're walking right through Revelation. Everything is being revealed. Santos is speaking about the charting and everything else, and everything is in alignment. And right now, Revelation 12, we've got it coming up, the 7 heads, 7 horns. We've got the 12 stars that have been coming. When the female is delivered up now, or the mother that's pregnant, when she's delivered up now, something stops this. She's no longer going to be preyed on. And what stops this is the earth wraps around her. This is us. This is what we're doing right now, and it's coming. It's coming right now. In March, everything's in alignment. March through April, and it walks right through Revelation. It's the most profound thing that anyone will ever witness is happening right now.
Yeah. Hey, Tammy, 1st of April for the listeners, have a look at the 1st of April. You will see, wow, Uranus, the Sun, Venus, and Mars all together at 12:30 at the midheaven in Aries, squaring with Pluto. So you've got 4 planets, not just the one, not just Uranus on his own squaring with Pluto. You've got Mars, Venus, the Sun, and Uranus squaring with Pluto on April the 1st. You might want to just dog-ear that in your in your diaries, because that is 4 planets doing the work of one. 4 planets together. That's a stellarium. It's actually a conjunction. They are all in one conjunction, 4 planets. They're all from, Uranus is in the 8th degree of Aries. Mars, the last one in that stellarium, is in the 15th degree. There's only 7 degrees separating those 4 planets on that day. That will be big. Really big. And the other thing, Tammy, you mentioned about the woman in Revelation that is pregnant and has to flee into the wilderness. There's many wonderful applications of that, and and I always think of the woman as I always look back at the Pilgrims escaping the Inquisition and going to the newfound lands, and then only decades after, followed by the Puritans. Puritans meaning, Calvinists, Lutherans, and the persecutors of the Pilgrims, the Hermetists, people who just wanted to be free and share the land with the indigenous people. They would never have killed them. Never. Rome sent the killers.
It's all been a political construct, and right now, we've been within the servitude of feminism, and the female has been kept in shadow for a very long time now under the guise of protection within feminism. All she's been is youth all this time, and now, she's been fleeing, running. The dragon has been stealing the babies from her womb. I mean, look at what is happening. She's lost all of her rights. She's lost everything she is under feminism. It's just keeping her in servitude and slavery. And now, finally, Revelation 12 comes up. Here we are, right at the apex, at the center of everything, at the top of everything, and everything is aligning. She's no longer going to be preyed on. I will not allow this. You will not allow this. And the earth is protecting her. I mean, that is what Revelation 12 is signifying. And if you go back to the Homeric text, this is the same thing. Everything is in alignment. Everything is working in our favor at this time, and it is. It's the most amazing thing that anybody will ever witness, and the most profound aspect of it is that a lot of the people won't even realize what happens. They will not suffer. We're coming out of her right now. We're no longer purchasing from the law merchant, and that's a requirement. That's when battle falls. When the whore has her, the matriarch, when it has her title written on her forehead, which is all these attorneys, all these effeminate males, all of these predators preying on society, when that hits, which is right now, the title is being written right now, then battle falls. Everybody comes out of her, and it's the most beautiful thing because we're walking right through it right this instant.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up one point there. One of my favorite words in Revelations, apocalypse. And I've mentioned it many times before. We are actually in the apocalypse, and as the Roman Church has taught, it's death, doom, and destruction. You can pretty much see that in their movies and their setups and all the rest of it. But the true meaning and true understanding of apocalypse is a leather covering. It's what we're in right now is the uncovering, the unveiling. So people will either choose to awaken and see apocalypse for what it is, or they will buy into the paradigm for what it isn't. And this is the separation of the wheat and the chaff.
Absolutely, and we're going to take every victim under our arms, and that's what was required. Before, nobody was doing that. It was everybody for themselves, women and children first, whatever under specialty, and they had no idea that she was being preyed on. They were taking and subscribing to the specialty. Now we've separated. If you walk with intent after you know it's wrong, then you're on your own. We're not pausing to protect you if you have intent to harm a human being. And I mean, this is just profound, absolutely amazing.
Jump in, Santo.
Yeah. The woman basically represents the inner, the spiritual, the right brain, the intuition, the direct contact and connection with the source. The masculine left brain, sinister, is in Latin. It tells you already that it's not good. Sinister, meaning left. So the left hemisphere is very sequential, and Rome has loved to keep us in the left hemisphere, disconnected from source. So this beautiful woman that had to flee from the dragon, from the persecution, the hierarchical male authoritative system has persecuted that. She has persecuted, and I've explained in my presentations. We often call Rome Babylon, Mark II. In fact, the great writer Alexander Hislop in 1916 wrote The Two Babylons. Great work for churchgoers. Jehovah's Witnesses love that book. Been studying it for 30 years myself, but the problem is that Alexander Hislop just didn't get the astrotheology. He thought he kept it everything literal, but he did expose a lot about Babylon. But to understand what Babylon Mark II or the Vatican and Rome really means, you look at the word Baba in Arabic, and it means father. And the exact same word appears in the word Papa, the Italian word for daddy, Papa, P-A-P-A. Papa and Baba are exactly the same words. These are two different versions. P and B are interchangeable. So the papacy means the Babyloniacy. That's exactly what the word means. And what they're telling you is that they're using the corrupt Babylonian patriarchal hierarchical system. Whereas they dethroned, this is thousands of years ago, they totally inverted the matriarchal system that was existing up until that period, and which was basically mostly from Egypt. Egypt considers itself to be matriarchal, feminine. Whereas in Babylon, they developed this pyramid system and hierarchical system. This is why the papacy is Babylon Mark II. Can't escape it. It's Babylon. That's why the scripture says, "Get out of her, my people, if you don't want to share in her sins." And when you read Revelation and you see how all the merchants of the world and all the powerful men and all of the kings and the priests fell down and cried and mourned when they saw that this woman, this harlot Babylon the Great, not the woman, the true church, but this harlot was destroyed, and they couldn't do commerce anymore, and they couldn't do this anymore, and they couldn't do that. And so they all, it's the imminent fall of this system. Well,
the fall of the matrix, or the artificial womb. Matrix is the word for womb. This is what we're coming out of, is this artificial womb. We've been comfortable, we've been accepting our specialty. Females have played right into it and have been preyed on all this time. This is something that it will never happen again. Females bought from the law merchant. She bought into the specialty. She kept it going. She's the thing that's a special deposit in the Federal Reserve. The moment she appears before a judge, that becomes a trustee. She's deposited in the Federal Reserve under specialty. Her rights are reserved. This allows the International Monetary Fund to function. It's because of her. And once she stops buying into this, she's no longer going to be preyed on by the system. And right now, we're there. We're there right now. She's no longer able to be delivered up. She's no longer attached to the earth and man's law by anybody because she's not buying it.
Yeah, welcome back, Isis.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of hoping, Tammy, maybe if you can go into, I'm not sure how much Santa was caught up with you, but if you go into a couple of details as to what's been going on over the last week or so, or it's because I know you and Bo have been going absolutely gangbusters, and it's been quite something.
Well, I put myself in front of one of the trustees without actually submitting to the authority of the trustee. And then what happened was we kind of slapped him around a little bit and asked him to present himself. Well, the bank hasn't been moving since December, and what happened is this judge moved on his own volition to injure me, and he lost all of his funding because under feminism, if he doesn't protect me, he doesn't get any special drawing rights out of the IMF. What this does is it withdraws the United States Incorporated from their member agreements with the International Monetary Fund, because one of the agreements is that I maintain as specialized. They can't harm me, they can't injure me, and this is against every member agreement that's on the books. And so what had happened is they're trying to scramble around, and they have their heads up their asses, and they're hiding now, but not for very long because they've been outed for what they are. And they should have not been so stupid, honestly, because, this is just, it's all based on ego. And that's what happened. The ego was involved. The judge decided to run with the ego and made a very, very, very huge mistake.
Yeah, well, this is how dishonourable they are. It just shows that they were always dishonourable, pretending to be honourable, because they're just going to, they're just going to try to railroad us. Even when we do the right thing, we turn up in, with trumping them, and they still find a way to, because they've got the big guns and they're so used to their good days of stealing wealth out of people's estates that they're addicted.
Not anymore, and that's what happened this last month. The trustee of the Federal Reserve, which is a judge, any one of these judges, they're trustees of the Federal Reserve. They have an obligation to protect feminism or females, and he, of his own volition, injured me, whereby he gave up his trustee position in the Federal Reserve on behalf of everybody, and he withdrew the United States Incorporated from the IMF all by himself. And right now, like I said, they're scrambling around. They're trying to avoid what's happening, and they're not able to.
Beautiful.
You see, what I've been seeing going on, Santo, and this is, we've had our talks about opt and whatever, and I keep my eyes open for the false prophets, spelt with Profits, profit, right? The false prophets. And what I see is a mirror image with what Tammy's doing and with what they're doing. You see, Tammy is exiting Babylon fully and using the proper means to do it, the ethereal, whereas the mirror of that is entering into Babylon as a whore and trying to solve it from within using the same old. And this is where I'm walking between worlds here. Maybe I'm lucky, I have no idea, but what I'm seeing is that equal and opposite. With the same intent. Don't get me wrong here. This is what I've been trying to get across to people all the time. This is not about because something, it isn't the way I see it to be somehow wrong. No, I'm looking at the intent, and if the intent is pure, which I know it is from Tammy, and of course if it's pure on the other side of that as well, I am in complete agreement with that singularity. And the singularity is to take system down, and that works in unison with Pluto and Uranus and all the rest of it that's going on. But what I see are far too many false prophets. The way to hell is paved with good intentions. How about we stop paving the way to hell with good intentions and actually do the right thing for the right reasons and using the right methodology? Because you're not going to solve old ideas with old thinking. You're only going to solve them with new thinking outside the box, and that's exactly what Tammy's been doing. And I've been loving sitting, watching, and seeing the room go as it unfolds before my eyes. And people are joining every day, and it's amazing. It's absolutely stunning.
And they tried really hard. When I appeared there without appearing, I came upon a motion And I had already had another executor. That's the most important thing, is that my executor never lost control of me or hold of me. And so he was able to pull me back out as soon as I entered into the fray there. And what had happened was, after that hearing, the judge realized his mistake. And he tried to contract with me. They shut the gas off, everything else. Well, normally what the female does is she runs out and she gets all these benefits and everything else. They sticked adult protection on me that day right after court, trying to contract with me, offering me cash assistance, help with utilities and everything else. And they were not realizant of why the judge had the gas shut off. You know, we were not behind on payments, yada, 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 yada. And simply due to the fact that they were trying to post us and everything else in violation of the Treaty of Amity, Commerce and Navigation of 1794, we declined their offers to contract. And adult protection worked on me for about 15 minutes, you know, just constant, please contract with me. Let me help you. Do you need any cash? Do you need anything? Because we can set you up in your own place, you know, Section 8 housing and all this bullshit that they offer the female. And normally, you know, she considers this suffering if she's without utilities or she's, you know, whatever, cold or uncomfortable or whatever else. It's really not suffering in comparison to what they can do when you begin to contract and you allow yourself to engage with the other daddy. And for me, you know, that's not an option. There's only one father, and it's been a neat experience and an interesting journey. You know, this is not suffering. Suffering is watching them human traffic human beings or rip a child apart by the family court, or you know, 35,000 males in the United States are committing suicide each year after being driven to that point or murdered. You know, 750,000 people are dying because of prescription drug accidents in the United States every year, and the 300,000 are dying because of hospital accidents. They're not accidents, and this is not suffering. I mean, if everybody could just get together and realize this is not suffering, it's okay to be a little bit cold, you know, put on more clothes or whatever, but stop contracting with the other daddy. And it's funny when you turn your head from them and decline the snake there in the garden, and that's basically what it is. The fig tree, the word fig, it's fide, it's fiduciary. It is the judicial system. And you have a snake there with a black dress on, and he's going to offer you anything you can imagine. They have the world at their fingertips as long as you're contracting with them. But the minute they injure you, you know, game over. He lost his space there in the Federal Reserve. He lost his right to be the trustee over those accounts, and he withdrew the United States Incorporated from the International Monetary Fund because of his actions. You know, and all you have to do is dissent. Don't go to the other daddy. Don't allow them to contract with you. You're going to be fine. You know, a little bit of being colder. You know, whatever else you're going through, it's not suffering. You could be beat to death any moment. You saw what happened to Dorner. You've seen what happens when you're in the system and the system takes you under its wing and protects you to death. Stop contracting. Stop contracting. Deny the snake.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah, sister. Hallelujah. Keep going. Don't stop.
I figured Santo needed to get caught up on this, because I think after tonight's little conversation, there's going to be a different perspective on this. And it's not to make right or wrong of anything. Again, this is about maintaining the position, and always maintaining the position of walking between worlds as a neutral observer. Because, and I've said it before, if but one shall awaken, and we only have to each do our own chosen role. And this is what Tammy's doing, this is what you're doing, Santo, myself, Patrick, and Jeremiah, and Tony, and everybody. We're all doing our thing, our chosen role, and this is what's changed everything, and it will continue to change everything. It's I mean, I see the ramifications of what Tammy and Bo have done, and when you stop and think, when Tammy had mentioned, I don't know if people were catching this, but when Tammy had mentioned that she went into the belly of the beast, she was able to be withdrawn by the executor, right? So she went in with the proper singularity of the masculine feminine working in unison, where the masculine, the male, whose only role is to protect the female, actually did his job. And that's the power of what Tammy's bringing to the table here. This is a singularity working to absolutely bust the duality of this patriarchal. You call it matrix. I call it a patrix. It's all backwards. We've known that for a long time.
It is, and that's what puts the judge off, because it's actually the establishment of the Syncretism trust. And what happens is the vi, or the life that everything depends on, is the male. The vi, the other life that determines everything. I run on his credit. And so every time that I go in and I contract with the father or the other daddy, what happens is that he has to pay for it. And that's what's happening all across the board ever since Egypt, Greece, whatever system of society you want to choose. They've been running on his credit or goodwill, God's goodwill. And as soon as she stops contracting and enters into the right contract with the actual father, then everything stops. It stops dead in its tracks, because now the vi has made a claim on the use. I am the use. The female is the use. Eve has always been the use. Lilith is even worse. I mean, she's out of control. But you have to put the vi and the use back together, and that's according to the Syncretism Act itself, Article 4. When the man, the presumed dead man, returns from the sea, what does he do? He makes a claim on the estate. And that's when it's all over. That's when all the means and interest is returned. There's nothing left after that. And what we did in this case is we established the Syncretism trust, and then we came in before even as the United States. And so that trust, it goes nowhere else other than the United States of being. We claim the Federal Reserve by allowing the judge to move on his own volition. There's no longer the IMF. There's only the Treasury. There's only the Syncretism trust, which is across the board now. I wasn't about to wait for everybody to have to do this or suffer this, and so we just took it upon ourselves to do this on behalf of everybody all at the same time. But I think that's what was required. I'm not going to watch this anymore. I've watched hell after hell after hell after hell. Everybody's being tortured. Everybody's being rendered and torn apart. And now it's time for that to end, and they're ending it by their own hand. And that's the mark of the beast. Again, the mark on the forehead is by the doctrines that you teach, and the mark on your hand is by your works and actions. Whatever you have your hand in, that's your mark. My mark is God. I only have the mark of God. Bo only has the mark of God. You only have the mark of God. Santos has the mark of God. Because we speak His word, we teach His word. We do His word. We're not going any other direction. And so right now, those that are marked by His word, by our works and actions, what's happening? We're taking over everything. The meek shall inherit the earth. And we come like a thief in the night. This kid never expected this shit. He's so used to a female being in front of him and contracting up the ass. He went out of control and into chaos because I acted so opposite to every other female that he's ever dealt with. I don't see him as my father. I don't see him as anything. He's nothing, which is what sin is. Sin, in the word Latin, is nothing. It means empty, without.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I clarify this for myself and for the listeners. And I always talk about not going into court, and period. And the way I see what you have done with your executor. You can name that individual if you want, doesn't matter. But I'll keep that to myself. But what happened was, as I see it, Tammy, is you were actually going into the courtroom and not going in at the same time. It's like you were literally in between worlds, and this judge hadn't a clue of how to deal with it, because you were standing there with your guardian, with the individual that was able to pull you out. So you had something, and I know based on what I've heard from you and seen the results of, what you guys effectively did was you went in with a lifeline and a means to get out before you even went in there. So technically, from my perspective, my understanding is you were in and out of the court at the same time. You actually scored the perfect singularity as far as I can see. Anyway, is that fairly close, or?
Absolutely. I didn't play upon the court. When I went in there, I came upon a motion for injunctive relief upon the motion. I didn't play the court. I didn't ask it to do anything, actually. I was directing the court, and that's where he made his slip up, because upon a motion for injunctive relief, he actually, sua sponte, then asked himself to give me a writ on the stay on the writ of assistance. And so it was completely opposite, and that allowed him to represent me as an attorney rather than acting as a judge and ordering the injunctive relief.
Too cool.
In front of him, I just came upon a motion. That means I'm on top of the motion, and I'm poking him and directing, and he didn't like that. You know, he came in to sponte to change my words or my languages, or he was representing me as an attorney. He was speaking a different word than I had put down.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting scenario. I had to chuckle when you were talking about the I'm not sure if it was the same judge or not, but the individual, you spun him out so much he started talking in third party.
Absolutely. That was in the district court. He came in and he says something, what I'm going to do here, or what I'll do here. I'm like, excuse me, who are you answering? You know, and this is all in writing. These judges, they're so spun out that they're actually speaking to themselves in third person in writing. It's all evidenced and documented. It's the most profound thing.
So how are you digging this, Santo?
Unfortunately, I can't hear Tammy's line well. I can hear yours beautifully, like you're standing next to me. Is Tammy on a phone? But I don't know whether it's just me.
No, it's Tammy's phone, and it's never really great. So we do the best we possibly can, and it does come through very well on the archives. So if there's anything, so it's all there.
I've got to go back through the archives, because I really would love to get into this and understand it. Can you elaborate? Maybe just repeat it.
Go ahead, Tammy.
No, you, Kate, because I can hear you.
Basically, what I want to make sure that I get it right. I think that's my only concern, because if there's one individual I don't want to speak for, because I'm not. That's Tammy, but I'll do my best. Okay, Tam. Now,
absolutely.
What Tammy was talking about there, the judge, they got so spun out. I get so fascinated listening to this. Anyway, they got so spun out that in writing they started saying, well, what I'm going to do here is this, and what I'm going to do there is that. So they're literally talking to themselves on paper. They haven't got a clue. They're spun. Because what Tammy and her executor have done have put them on the edge, and they have actually committed to things by virtue of their office that affects the entirety of the system. This is the point that Tammy's making. And I've said, and you've seen it yourself with me, Santo, and with yourself, how things that we have done, like single things that we have done, we have watched the entire legal system worldwide change as a result of it. As we were peeling onions off, we'd have, for me personally, I'd have victories, and then the same thing would stop working after a couple of, people or whatever. And then we had to kind of recalibrate because we were seeing changes in answers and stuff like that. So I just adjusted to see what layer of onion I needed to be at, and then jump one ahead, and right up to the point where they stole my house, I was batting 1,000, hadn't lost. And that was, for me, that was right at the Denneke ultimatum, which was, again, for me, it's about releasing the information to bring how I saw things coming into play. The Denneke ultimatum reverio verum, what that was an exposure of how they managed to corporate over, I was looking for the ethereal, physical illusion, how it was papered over, how Rome managed to do it. And as we've talked about before, Unum Sanctum 1302, it goes back further than that, but that was the key one with the first express trust. We started peeling off a ton of layers and things that were becoming very visible. And of course, Tammy's been grinding away there for years, and so many others. So what everyone was doing mattered in the collective, because we were working in unison, even if we didn't know each other, because we were all focused on the same goal. And what Tammy has done with her executor, she has placed the system in a very precarious position where, as I've said and you've said and so many of us, evil by definition must destroy itself. And we've been saying that for a long time, that the only way this system is going to come down is for them to bring it down themselves. And they're doing a great job. What do you think, Tam?
I couldn't say it more beautifully. I mean, it's just been absolutely perfect. They're used to predetermined outcomes because they've engineered an entire society that's predictable in every manner, and that was their downfall because they predicted me.
That's definitely not something I would do, Tam. I would never predict you. And I got to tell you, the wealth of information that you share in that room, it always boggles my mind. I'm looking, and somebody will ask a question. We had a new individual come into the room today that I knew when she contacted me this morning. As soon as she tagged me on Facebook, I thought, no, this looks like a job for Tammy Peppermint, and that's when I put her into the room. I got hooked up with her in Skype first, and then I was able to put her in your training room, and then you showed up, and I just watched the fireworks. It was friggin' awesome. I'm just watching you guys go. It was beautiful, and on the other side of the planet, with the same sort of drive, purpose, and you put the right tools in her hand, which is what's happening right now, the system is done. It's done.
Absolutely. She stopped contracting. And so, now, like I said, Revelation 12, if that female, what's been happening is she's been delivered up all this time based on her own actions. She's rushing out to contract with the other daddy when she's scared. Right now, she can't be delivered up anymore and tossed to the earth. And what that means is she's already ascended. She's already in heaven. This is her place. She's taking it over. And I'm sorry for them. They're not able to predict this. That's fine. I feel really bad for them because they're being thrown into the pits of hell. This is something that it's already written, and they had constructive notice how many years ago? Jesus was maintaining war against them and warning them that the Son of Man is come to say that which is lost. And I consider that constructive notice, and so I expect recompense accordingly because they got notice a long time ago and they didn't stop.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I mean, constructive notice is all throughout the New Testament. It's the lessons were there, the allegories, the metaphors were there, and I think that's one of the key things that had to happen as well with people like Santo and Bill Donahue unveiling that apocalypse to bring the light of day to what was really being said. And this was the amazing part. I'm watching this beautiful collective of individuals all doing their own thing and seeing it weave into this perfect fabric of glory. It's beautiful, it's something to behold. And of course, the individual that you hooked up with today, the one in the room, she said to me that she was going to, check things out, but she wanted to go off and watch a couple of Bill Donahue videos. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're on the same page. But and Santo has done a ton of work in terms of the lawful awakening. I'm overjoyed at what he's doing now. That doesn't make less of what was done before, because it all ties in together. And without what Santo had done before and what he'd been doing before we met, what, a year ago, October, Santo? There was this merging of so many amazing people, and I count myself blessed, and I don't know why or how I ended up in this little circle, but here I am, just in awe of everything that's happening around me and the differences that each of you have affected on this planet. And I have to give gratitude. I'm trying to do my little part. I give gratitude for so many. I consider myself a late awakening in that I've only really been in this game for the last 3 years. Not even, really, I didn't kick into it until probably April, May of 2010. So I had done stuff before. I had, minor awakening aspects, but really, this is January of 2010 is when I said, okay, well, there's something I have to do. I don't know what it is. And I threw off the business, threw off the chains of Babylon, which has left me where I am now. But given what I know and what is occurring right now, I wouldn't have changed a thing, and I won't. But yeah, so you've got a bit of an understanding there, Santos. So your comments would be awesome.
Yeah, I concur with you there, Kate. All of those thoughts, absolutely. I would love to hear from Tammy. I'll try to listen in because I'd love to. I can grasp that she's achieved something really, really big in court. I want to understand how she's done it, if we could. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, Tammy, you and Santo definitely need to have a little chit-chat on Skype.
Yeah.
Absolutely, anytime. It's not that hard. It's just, like you say, synchronicity. When you spoke the word fabric, it brought it all home again, Katie, because, we're controlled. We are the vessel. We are also the garment. We are the garment, and as our garments rendered, things are taken off of us, like each other, and it's held and controlled right there in the UK. The members of the fabric, it is called the fabric. They render us, and that's part of the risk management that we tapped on this past week. This judge is acting rogue. He's not adhering to the ecclesiastical law, on top of every other law that he's violated and not upheld, and trust and all this. And so we went to the members of the fabric and we said, look, your little minion there, he's freaking foul, and this leaves you responsible for his actions. You gave them this authority that delegated to him, which is, one of my favorite words, delegated in power, because not only did we delegate our authority and vest it in Congress, and now it's being divested, the dragon also delegated his power, and it talks all about this through Revelation. As the dragon delegates his power, he loses part of his control because he's got a bunch of idiots working for him. And that's what's happened now, is the absolute now, the other father is being held accountable because of the useful idiots that they employed by which to perpetrate this upon mankind. And it's profound. It's so amazing. It really is. I mean, I'm just like, every day I'm more and more amazed, because I never thought ever in my whole entire life, or being me, that I would ever witness such a thing.
It's funny how that happens, huh? Yeah, and I think Santa will say the same thing, and I'll say it too. Never in my life would I have dreamed of sitting here right now, doing what I'm doing, working with the people I work with, in the situation I'm in, and I have to think that is actually a prerequisite, because there was never in my life did I think that I would be dealing in anything legal, dealing in anything of this nature at all. At all. It never crossed my mind. I was a musician, general contractor, doing my thing, writing songs, and everything I've done in the past was so diametrically opposed to doing what I'm doing right now. However, everything that I did in the past factored completely into why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, and it gave me all the tools I need to do what I do right now, which is it's a perfect dichotomy of equals and opposites coming together to bring this beautiful singularity. So I totally concur with that, Tammy. And Santo, did you grow up thinking that you're going to be one of the world's renowned truthers?
I was always trying to be. I was knocking on your door trying to save you as a Jehovah's Witness for 20 years.
So well said. Oh my God.
Yeah, because that's what that was why I endeavoured to set off on the path. I thought to serve the Lord, to serve. Now I find that the Lord is the light. It is our higher selves. It is the magnetic still light of everything that we are. And I was trying to bring people over to a personal Saviour rather than a universal Saviour, see? That's what they're doing in the churches. Jehovah's Witnesses have got their little personal Saviour, the Baptists have got their version, and so everybody's looking for saviours. And the Saviour was we the people all along.
Absolutely, and you're God, and Jesus was trying to tell us that for so long. God is not the God of the dead. God is the God of the living. And he was telling us that as he went off on Moses. He was saying, what the hell are the priests, scribes, and Pharisees doing sitting at the right hand of Moses? You're not supposed to be at the right hand of Moses. You're supposed to be at the right hand of God. And here you are. You never lifted your hand. You never lifted your own pencil to write your book. You were allowing it to be written for you in the form of codex, codes, statutes, or the parts of the book's titles, chapters. And you read this every day in the law as we're studying the law. Here's the book, and finally, once you're able to open it, what happens? Your wrath is made known. This is the part where they hide beneath the mountains and pray that they fall upon them and to hide them from your wrath, and you will no longer be slain. And the neatest thing is that you're to slay them as they slayed you. How did they kill you? With the Syncretism Act. It's all based on consent and presumption. Here you've been a dead thing, lost at sea forever. You've never come home. You've never stood a claim on the estate. Nothing. And now that you've done that, they're hiding. They are so scared.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're just contemplating what you just said, Tammy. Oh my God. Yeah, we are definitely in amazing times, and it's kind of funny because I didn't know how or where tonight's show was going to go, especially at the start, and to see it end up where it is right now is only more proof to me that the universe works in mysterious ways, and I highly recommend people to grab this download and listen to it a few times until you get it. You did post a note to me direct, Tammy. I just regarding your executor, and just to clarify, so you got what Tammy was saying. The injunction this is Tammy's words. The injunction I came upon motion with, and the second is my forgiveness and executor. Here, this is critical, this line now. Emphasis on before. We've talked about the word before in the past as being a very, very critical word in terms of placement. So it's emphasis on that word here. I appeared before the executor as a special deposit.
Absolutely. Now, that was a document. My executor doc, I signed off my name. I gave up my name, as Jesus said. Jesus said, divest yourself of all that possesses you. And so when I did that, I appeared before my executor as a special deposit, and then at the end of the document, then I signed it with his hand because that is now my hand. And so I don't have a name. I don't need a name. I have an endearment, what he calls me, which is whatever I want to be called. Anyway, but the thing is that under matriarchal law or presence, the female has been chattel, and I'm no longer chattel. I'm absolutely set at liberty because I have an executor that's not going to administrate me through the court. He is not going to rent me out. He's not going to pit me out. And this is what the executor wearing the dress does. That judge is a trustee of your estate. That judge is your executor until you turn away from him and you tell him, no, I'm not accepting you as my other father or anything other. That is your executor, and so you have to walk away from that one and be with the real Father, the absolute, the one that's speaking God's word is God. The one that is acting as God is God.
Did you get that one, Santo?
Yeah, I'm getting it. Beautiful. And so how do you do that? How do you do this in court or before court?
Before court, and what I've done is we have a forgiveness document. The forgiveness document allows me to forgive myself as the debtor because I'm the creditor. Up until the point that I turned or went to my father, I was playing into the system. I had licenses, I had teaching certificates, I had all these different things that they were easements through my body because I was contracting with the snake, with the other father. And so in the forgiveness doc, I'm divesting all of that. I'm forgiving myself as the debtor because I'm the creditor, and that's what they played on. For all this time, you're the creditor, and you're asking your representatives to represent you, so you become the debtor. Stop doing that, and just forgive yourself. And once you do that and obliterate the stock or the franchise in the United States Incorporated, then you can go on and give yourself to the executor, and he makes that claim. Once he does that, the vi and the use are together as one. There's no separation of the spiritual and the temporal anymore. The land is my body. The vi is his. The spiritual is his. And in Revelation it says this. When God takes his spirit bride, she becomes he. It doesn't diminish me in any way, shape, or form. I'm God, but it takes two parts to make God. You know, we walk in left and right brain paradigms. We walk in as the opposites to each other, but we have to complement each other. And that's what we've done with the forgiveness and the executor doc. We allow that complementary being to exist now, come forward, be recorded on record, and then there's nothing coming in between it. That's what our whole entire purpose on this planet was to come back and put the separated spiritual and the temporal back into one place. And this is also the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I, female, I'm created by the male. He's the logical one. He's got reason. I'm impulsive. Female is naturally impulsive. He's naturally logical and with reason. And so as we walk through life, I'm learning from the male. I'm not learning from myself. I'm not going to learn from very many things because I don't have reason. I'm just impulsive. I'm practical. I walk forward, but it's the male who reaches out and tells me, you're going to fall off the cliff. You're running into this, and it's my experience that you shouldn't do that. And what happens is now I'm completely whole. I'm protected. I'm not missing the other part of me because it wraps around me.
Beautiful. You know, That goes without saying. Beautiful. I mean, one of the things that really resonated with me. I've spent a lifetime walking between worlds, and it's always been hard to listen to the duality. You know, there was always an intensely male or an intensely female. There was never a semblance of balance. And when I hear you speak, it's a language I understand. I feel and sense the balance within it, which I have come across so rarely. I'm starting to see it a lot more now, but few as eloquent as you put it. And this is why I just stood back with my jaw dropped and, oh, she speaks Two-Spirit. How cool is that? And you do. You speak it fluently, in perfect balance. And it's only with what you've done and how you've done it. Well, it's absolutely proven that you do see that singularity of the duality, and that is the one thing that I know the system was afraid that anyone would ever get to. And that's and I go back to history. There was a reason why they slaughtered two spirits on sight, because hey, we're just a clue. You know, that's it. We're just a clue that all things are not as they appear, and that you might just maybe want to have a second look at your intensely feminine or your intensely masculine perspective, because you're missing half the story. And when you put it together, you get beautiful stories like Tammy is sharing tonight. It's beyond astonishing.
It's been the most amazing experience of my life. You know,
Sorry, Tammy, I just want to interject. This is the sort of stuff that churchgoers would love to be getting at church. You know, and they're getting that mushy, pooey, Benny Hinn stuff. If they could be listening to this, we'd be, you know, steps ahead in our evolution. Continue, Tammy, sorry.
Right. And this is why they were perverting God's word. And Jesus kept telling them this, you know not the scripture of God. Well, they weren't talking about what was written by their hands or by their apostles' hands or by their taxmen's hands. What he was speaking of was the actual walk of God. That's your scripture. You're your author. Authority comes from that word author. And if you're not writing the book, you're allowing somebody else to write it.
It's true. And I just wrote this, so it's kind of funny. I'm going to say it. When two or more gather in our name. And we've gathered.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so profound. I mean, even the stars are aligning now, the planets are aligning now. We've got everything, the open door, we've got the open window, we've got everything right now being revealed and being brought forth from the hidden state, which is the epitome of apocalypse. You know, and they've tried so hard to pervert all things and to note that there's aliens coming. They've been noting that there's possible zombies going to attack us, whatever else. We've been living amongst the zombies for however long we've been here on this planet, because they're dead. They walk and talk, and they're walking and talking the dead language, and they're not living. They're never being. They're not able to be. They're not able to feel. So they're trying to replace this with things and counting money and counting their items that they own or cars or whatever else. They're not living. They're always in the past tense. And now everything's coming forward into the present tense state of being, and that was what was required. That was all it took, was just to come forward and get out of the psychological implication that was upon everybody, you know, destroying them as they were seeking to be. You know, I wish I could be this. I'm not this. I wish I could be this. If I had this, I could be this. If I do this, I could be this, or I would be, or I should be, which is the premise of all law. It was teaching us to be in the past tense. Language teaches us to be in the past tense. And here we are. We're there. We're forward. We're now living in the present and be living, rather than subscribing to that dead language and dead thought and dead psychological implication and social engineering. You know, once that's passed, and there's no stopping us. A body in motion stays in motion. That is a physical law. It will not break. stay body, and motion stays in motion, and we are that body. We are one.
Yeah, I was just waiting for Santo to jump in there. Your comment, Santo, I'd love to hear. We got about 8 minutes left here. I'm just double checking. 7 minutes actually. This show I could go on for hours. This is just it's putting so many pieces together for so many people. I know I'm checking a lot of things with people. So your thoughts, Santo?
Well, I'd like to ask Tammy about the process a little bit further, because is it similar to Winston Shrout's noticing of the government that you are alive and not lost at sea, therefore you are now, of obviously an age of majority, and you want to take ownership of that title? Is that how it works?
No, I really love Winston Shrout, and I think he has a lot of good things to say. He and I have spoken in the past, but I don't ask anybody to determine my being, and in our documentation we actually do the Syncretism without stating that it's the Syncretism. It's an actual action or a deed. We're coming back to allowing our deeds and our word to be made known on the record. And what's happened is they've turned our deeds, which are actions. That word deed means an action that we do. They perverted that and documented it, or turned it into a documission rather than our own mission. So they've altered our heading, usually by counter deeds, such as a notary public seal or another private seal, countering our deeds in action. And so what we do is we come in and we are being, and they're living documents. Every motion we come upon, it's a living document. We're no longer dead things. There's action in the document itself, and there's no stopping us. We're not stagnant, and we're not in the past tense asking any entity whether or not they can determine us or our being. We're just being and then evidencing that on record.
Gotcha. Beautiful. So simple.
Yeah, again, it is about being alive and, being witness of your own testimony, more or less. Dead men tell no tales. That's why they like lots of dead men walking in the courtrooms. In this case, what's happened is behold the living and going in properly, in unison as the law of gender, the seventh cosmic law. And that's exactly, it's kind of funny because I started working the Kybalion. I do webinars every Thursday, and it hit me yesterday. It's time to start bringing the Kybalion into the webinar. And it's quite astonishing. It's been a while since I've read it, and I always recommend to everybody, including myself, to go back and revisit works that you've already read so that you may see how you've evolved and what more little nuggets of truth and epiphanies you can get from it. And even just reading through the introduction last night, I know how much I've changed since the first time I ever read that. It was a couple of years ago. So it's quite dramatic.
Absolutely. And when you go back and revisit things, that's almost a requirement. The Bible itself, it's written in three variants, meta, soma, and theta. And so if you only read it once, you're not going to get the other two variants. And you're not going to get the other two variants unless you learn as you go along and then revisit something again and again and again and again. And you'll see it. Each passage, each chapter, each book, it changes. As you grow and you change, you can see absolutely the three variants. Meta, which is morality of the self, soma, which is the psychology of the thing, and theta, which is the law of the thing. And once you read it in the three variants, then it all comes together in the mind and allows you to see it for what it actually is, or it reveals itself. Yeah,
it's quite something, isn't it? So, well, we got a little over 2 minutes left here. I'll do my thank yous to Critical Mass Radio, Paul and Lisa and the crew at Critical Mass, for giving us this platform. And of course, as everyone's aware, Tammy does her own show with Pat on Thursday nights called Leaving the Farm. And definitely last night's archive is worth a download. You can get that. Just follow any of the show links to the Critical Mass page, and you can archive. All the archives are there. Just scroll down, and the show descriptions are there, so you'll know which one you're looking for. And I highly recommend it, and I will absolutely recommend you download this one tonight and give it 3 passes so you can get the 3 elements just listening to it. I also want to thank Tammy for jumping in tonight. For me, this is just another dream call of getting you and Santo together, because I love when 2 like minds from different perspectives come together. There's so much more that comes pouring out. And of course, Santo is always Syncretism Friday nights. This is yours and Jordan's night, and I keep this one open. There it goes. Anyway, strictly for you and Jordan and whoever shows up. So tonight was a bigger surprise than what it actually turned out to be than I was expecting, and I can't be happier. So any final words from you guys? We've got just over a minute here.
I love you, and thank you for having me. I've been listening, and I love Santos, and I was hoping that Jordan would be there too, because he would have brought so much. I mean, his use of language, you know, and speaking of Rome and how it came into relativity again for the use of consensus reality and everything. It would have just been so perfect to have him on. I missed him.
Well, I was going to say, it sounds like a date for next Friday. So, Santo?
Yeah. Join us next Friday, Tammy. That'd be fantastic. Jordan will appreciate that he's been able to have influence on you, and look at the result. We're all we're all influenced and helped by Jordan and his breakdown of words and just his thinking. You know, the fact that he merged the 2 things, sovereignty and astrotheology, was just beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to run into the recording here, but I just want to thank all the listeners for tuning in. And what a night, guys. This has been something else. I cannot thank you both enough. And, of course, Jeremiah and Patrick coming in for the first half hour and bailing my sorry ass out to give me someone to talk to. I'm always better when I have people to talk with. Otherwise, I just go off on a rant. But, yeah, very, very special night. I'll make sure that you both have I was going to do that while we're on the call here. I'll do that right now so I don't forget. So that you have, I don't know if you have each other's contacts, because I'm always amazed at who doesn't have whose. But there you go. You have each other's contacts. And Santo, it's a very busy room, and I know you're a very busy man, but I would even recommend just popping in we can put you into Tammy's room so you can grab documents, and that way you know exactly what's been going on. And they're not complicated. This is the joy of it. It's very straightforward. It's very, I own your ass, now move over, Babylon. It's beautiful.
Yeah, please, let me in. Absolutely. That's real action. Cut to the chase.
Yeah, well, you're in now, so I'm sure there's gonna be a few happy people there. So I guess we'll close out for tonight. But I'm glad that you guys had a chance to talk on the air. This is a dream show. I don't think you guys realize it to the extent that I do, watching the people reacting here. But I just want to thank you both so much for what you've done for all of us. You know, we do this together. I mean, that's kind of the motto of late. So thank you for taking that seriously. And definitely. And tomorrow night we have Kyler Davenport back, so it's going to be a hellfire night. I know that, always is, and I love it. I don't know if he can handle the heat of the Kate, though, so we'll see what happens. But thank you again all for listening, and much love. Special guest, well, I'm actually kind of the special guest, Santo. It's Syncretism, but anyway, special guest Tammy Pepperman, Santo Bonacci, and of course your host, most graciously humbled by tonight, Kate of Gaia. So we'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Much love, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Love to all.